Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we tackle the issues, all those things that affect the customer experience at your store. Whether it's the front of the store, the back of the store, or somewhere in the middle, doesn't really matter. Because if they have a good experience, they'll come back to you for everything they need when they need it. And they'll bring their entire tribe, their family, their friends, their coworkers, the people they go to church with, everybody. And I am very fortunate. I have a great network of friends and connections that come on the show every week to share with us what they do or what they've done to improve the customer experience in their business, which is your business. Actionable items that you could use tomorrow. Never any fluff. And this week is no exception. I have Matt Lamoureux. Did I pronounce it correctly, Matt?
Yes, you did.
All right. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. All right, so before we get started, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to where you are. Don't go past fifth grade because then it gets too long.
Sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about how I got started in the automotive industry. So I was working for a dealership in Massachusetts called Acton Toyota, where I had the privilege of leading an internet sales department through a significant transformation. Starting with a small, struggling team, really, we built a cohesive group of over a dozen professionals that were driven by the shared commitment to process and performance. And together, we were able to achieve meaningful growth, both in sales and in profitability, earning national recognition for that within the industry. That led me to being recruited to Dealer Rater as employee number one, where I served as the Vice President of Business Development and Strategic Planning. There, we experienced incredible collaboration and growth, and we expanded the company from fewer than 25 to more than 4,600 paid customer accounts. So I always say that watching a small company grow like that into a respected leader in the industry really remains one of my most rewarding experiences. Now, recently, I've joined, I should say, 3.5 years now, I've been with Quotable, and we empower dealerships to respond to leads quickly and seamlessly directly through existing CRMs using mobile-first technology that enhances engagement and elevates the customer experience, helping to drive significant increases in lead engagement, appointment setting rates, and vehicle sales. So ultimately, our platform transforms the car buying journey into a streamlined and customer-focused process, helping dealerships to stand out and to connect effectively with customers and achieve measurable growth.
That's stuff that's right in my heart, man. Because everything starts on the internet. Everything. I'd say probably better than 99.9 something percent. And as part of what I do, I regularly mystery shop. I also help people buy cars. And so I'm reaching out to a lot of dealerships. And it's amazing that the stuff that you get back really isn't that much different than many, many years ago. So this is great stuff here that we're going to talk about. And I just want to give the disclaimer up front with StreamYard/LinkedIn. It's a great platform, but there are sometimes issues insofar as there are at times people that will comment and we may not see the comment until after the show is off. StreamYard says it's LinkedIn. LinkedIn says it's StreamYard. We may never know. So if we're not responding to a question or a comment that you put out there, it simply is because we didn't see it. So if you have either of our phone numbers, feel free to text that question or comment and we'll be happy to address it. So let's jump into it. Why your team is your brand. You know, what's funny is that not everybody understands that, right? It seems as though we have a lot of people that work at a place, but they just work there. There isn't that team spirit, and as such, they're not really building the brand together. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First thing I guess I would say is that experiences are what drive sales. Customers aren't just buying cars, they're really buying experiences. And the way that your team interacts with customers, it can leave a bigger impression than the vehicles themselves. And really, that's why it's so important to hire people for personality and to train for skill, because a friendly, authentic interaction can build trust, and technical expertise can always be developed over time. So what I always recommend to dealers is that you put a face to your brand, or faces to your brand, because your team members are really your most valuable asset. So you want to let them shine. And by featuring employees in your marketing, whether it be through bios and videos and testimonials on your website and ads and across social channels, you're not only going to humanize your brand, but you're also going to build trust with your audience. Because when customers see the faces behind your dealership, that creates a personal connection even before they walk through the door. So I also always suggest that you consider empowering your team, because when your team feels empowered, they take pride in their work. And that pride translates directly into a better customer experience. Now at Acton Toyota, we saw this firsthand because we handed our team ownership of the lead response process, giving them the tools and the confidence to handle pricing decisions on their own. And why did we do that? Because we were up against some big players in our market, which was the Boston market, and trying to beat them at their own game, it really wasn't a winning strategy. Instead, we focused on offering something that they couldn't do or wouldn't do, which was to deliver real value and an experience that stood out. And so by doing that, we were not only able to thrive, but we created an environment where employees felt confident and capable. And that resulted in smoother operations, also better performance, happier customers, and a team that truly believed in what we were doing. And this approach worked for us, and I believe personally that it can work for you too.
Ryan Baum. Hello, everyone. Welcome, Ryan. Fun fact, and the stats are changing all the time, but the latest one, the last time I saw it, 58% of people will spend more money and travel further for a better experience. Okay, think about that. It's not necessarily about where you are. It's not necessarily about how much you cost, because there are times that I know me personally, I'll travel. You know, I'm a big foodie, and I'll travel to go to a particular restaurant, and I'll spend stupid money there when I could go locally, or I could go someplace 10 minutes away and spend a fraction of it. But it's not the same experience. And it's the same thing with cars, right? People spend tens of thousands, $40,000, $50,000 they'll drop on a car without even thinking about it. If they thought about it, they wouldn't do it. So that's where the experience comes in. Now this was in the early mid 2000s. You said at Acton.
Yeah, I was at Acton from 2004 to 2008. So we were really early adopters in providing a transparent experience where, again, we empowered our salespeople to make pricing decisions on their own, utilizing a dynamic pricing matrix that I created that gave them ranges of prices that they were able to work from and make decisions on their own, so that we would eliminate a lot of the back and forth over email and on the telephone. And we would also seamlessly transition that customer into a process that would expedite the time that they would spend at the dealership, helping us to sell more cars and grow market share, but also improving the customer experience and CSI.
So the matrix probably was reflective of what other people were selling similar cars for.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. We did market research to determine what our competitors were selling cars for. And then, of course, we wanted to price competitively, but we didn't have to be the lowest price because we were offering something that others didn't. We were offering transparency. We were giving out prices, and they wouldn't change when the customer got to the dealership. And we were also doing it in such a way that we had what we called A and B pricing.
Yeah.
A pricing was higher than B pricing. And A pricing was what we offered to customers in our own PMA, where we thought that they were likely to give us the last chance, even if they got a better price elsewhere.
Yeah.
B pricing was what we would offer to a customer that lived 250 miles away in Vermont that was shopping us against their local dealership for a new Toyota. And so that's how we would draw people from a distance to come do business with us, to increase our inventory turn, reduce our floor plan expenses, and pull a better allocation. But the salespeople were given the autonomy to make pricing decisions on their own, so long as those prices fell within the range of A and B, in order to make the sales process easier for the customer and expedite the time that they would spend at the dealership.
Man, that's the stuff I talk about to my dealers every day today. Let me go to a couple of comments. Ryan Baum says, good service makes bad food taste better.
Agreed.
You're right. You're right. Jerry Davis, customer experience is key. It's all about the perceived value that you give. And Jerry says, being the cheapest is not always the best. 100%. What's interesting is that just about every customer, they shop, right? So when they come, by the time they make it into your store, if they make it into your store, the first part is doing the proper needs assessment to make sure you've got the right vehicle. But once you've spent the quality time to do that, then the next thing is the pricing, right? And that's where everybody expects it to fall apart. What you were doing back then at Acton was brilliant, because when they went back to that local dealer 200 and some odd miles away, or even within your market, and they got even the hint of the 2-foot shuffle, they're out of there. They know what you have with you, right? You don't need to be the cheapest, you just need to be in the game. So delivering pricing with confidence is key. So when somebody says to you, how much is it? Hey, I love the matrix thing. I don't call it matrix, but I encourage my dealers the same way today. You need to know what the market charges. And then you need to have a solid why buy here. Yes. Why should anybody want to buy a car from you? I put my dealers on the spot. I'll call their best salesperson in and say, hey, bring your best person in here. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot. Not to put you on the spot or anything, but I'm going to ask you right now, why should I buy a car and why should I buy it from you? Go. And then they're there, or they'll give some, well, we're a family. Everybody says that. Well, we do. Everybody says that. Give me reasons that everybody else isn't saying. And they say, well, that's not, it's not fair. You didn't give me any notice. Well, do you get notice when that next up walks in the door? No. So I'd rather have you and I have this conversation now to see where we're missing. So on the pricing thing that you talk about, the way I like it is, if you know what everybody else is charging, AKA your metrics or your matrix, then it's very simple. Hey, some dealers charge this much money. And the customer's like, yeah, I got that price. Some dealers charge this much. They're like, yeah, I got that price. It's in their pocket, folded in that little piece of paper. A couple are down here, and we sell ours for here. And here, so we're in the ballpark, and here's why. When you buy a car from us, you get this, 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 and this. Make sense? Absolutely. It's the same stuff you were doing years ago.
And you know what the crazy part was? We were making a lot of money doing it. In fact, I had a salesperson from that dealership reach out to me about a month ago over LinkedIn and tell me that to this day, during the time that we were working together following that process, was the greatest period of earnings in his entire career. So people thought that we were giving cars away. We weren't. We were just being honest, and we were being transparent, and we were giving a different experience that the customers appreciated enough to drive past other local Toyota dealers and come to us, to the tune that we literally grew our market share by close to 100 units a month by cannibalizing business away from other Boston area dealers, many of which were part of these publicly traded companies, Herb Chambers, and other big dealers that we couldn't have competed with in other ways as a small single point store.
Now, I went to that. I used to go to that store, years after you left there. They're a big outfit.
But you gotta understand, when you were there in 2012, they were in Littleton, right?
Oh, yes.
Prior to that, we had 2 acres. Our lot was 2 acres. We couldn't fit a single car in the showroom because we didn't have room. And we were selling 300 to 350 cars a month.
Wow.
We had 4 satellite lots where we had to store our inventory because we didn't have any place for them at the dealership.
Oh, that's got to be fun.
It made for challenges, but we worked through it.
And to your point about you offered them a smooth and easy and fast experience in store, That's key, right? That's shifted a little bit. The timing used to be was the most important. Customers have now backed off a little bit on the timing, favoring more transparency and better explanation over the time. But it reminded me of a funny story because there was a Chevrolet dealership that I walked into one day, and I'll never forget this. There was one of those signs that you put outside that looks like a Christmas tree.
Sure.
It's got writing on either side. And on the thing, it said, ask us about our express 2-hour delivery.
Oh, God. Wow.
2 hours, man. Oh, my God. I wish I took a picture of it because that would be so funny. But there were a lot of people back then that thought that was fast. And I guess if people spend half the day at the dealership, then, yeah, 2 hours might be fast. So transparency, a smooth process, reputation management. This is another area where dealers, they struggle, and it's an untapped source, right?
Absolutely.
The floor is yours.
Oh, sure. So part of what helped us to grow our market share so significantly at Acton Toyota was that we pioneered the concept of soliciting positive reviews from our happy customers and then leveraging them to our advantage. So what we were doing is pointing every prospective customer to the directory of all Toyota dealers in Massachusetts on DealerRater, where at that time we had built hundreds of positive reviews and a very high score. And other dealers that weren't paying attention still had only a handful of reviews that were just spewing venom. I can remember clearly one of our competitors had a review that said, I had to hire an attorney to get my elderly mother's deposit back.
Oh, my God.
And so that was huge for us. And that's what led me to be recruited from Acton Toyota to become employee number 1 at DealerRater, where I served as vice president of business development and strategy. And the truth is that reviews speak volumes. And as you know, online reviews are the new word of mouth.
Yeah.
And the numbers prove it. I mean, recent studies are showing that 88% of consumers trust marketing as much as they do personal recommendations. A strong review presence these days builds credibility. It reassures potential customers that your dealership's trustworthy. And on top of that, it shows that you're customer focused. And then you can capitalize on opportunities through feedback because negative reviews aren't the end of the world. They're actually an opportunity. You know, responding constructively simply shows customers that you're listening and you're committed to improvement. And then by addressing concerns and offering solutions, you can often turn a dissatisfied customer into a loyal advocate. Not to mention, if all you have is positive reviews, customers are going to find them hard to believe because we all make mistakes.
Right.
So I recommend that dealers let reviews speak for them. Again, at Acton Toyota and DealerRater, we saw firsthand how reviews can become a competitive advantage. And so positive reviews these days are like social proof, and they show customers that you deliver on your promises. The other thing to point out is that you can let feedback from reviews fuel improvement because reviews aren't just about reputation. They're also a gold mine of insights. And what I mean by that is that when you analyze that feedback, you can reveal service areas that need improvement. You can highlight top performing employees, and you can also guide operational changes. It's all about turning that feedback into action that drives growth.
Of all the things that impact profitability at a store, operational practice is the number one that drives the most amount of profit over every other area, right? And reviews are critical because, to your point, they'll tell you exactly where it is that you're falling short, right? When you analyze a large number of reviews, you can see the score says one thing, right? But beyond the score, what you want to look at is what is the customer sentiment? What are they speaking of specifically? Okay, and that's easy to do today with technology. Okay, you can see where the issues are, whether you're trending upwards, downwards, and you can get recommendations very easily on how you need to improve. And to your point about they don't all have to be good, we had a situation in our yarn shop recently where we offered this particular product, and I guess we missed something on the website, our fault, right? And the woman bought a product. She wasn't 100% happy with it, and she blew us up online. She gave us a bad review. And at first, it always hurts here when you get a bad review. But now we would look at it and say, okay, so what is she really talking about? All right. And we dig a little deeper. Yeah, you know what? We missed that particular area. So we made good. We fixed the part that she told us we missed. We then apologized to her. And we went so far as to go to her house to do an exchange for her. Okay, without asking her to do anything. My initial reaction was, ask her to amend the review. My wife says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give her the service and let the chips fall where they may. Well, guess what? The lady was so happy. Without being prompted to do anything, she went ahead and changed the review to a 5-star review and gave us glowing. So now you see what the situation was. Added to that, how we rectified it. So many businesses and so many people, they get pissed off when they get a bad review. I did marketing for a particular wine bar, and this guy, he was an animal. There's no other way to put it. And he would just burn these people. They blow him up online, and then he has a dozen or so fake accounts that he uses, and then he counters the bad review with a bunch of good reviews that specifically answer all of the complaints. So you could see that they're fake. It's not even funny. But so there are some businesses that don't learn from the reviews, but the smart ones do. And with AI today, I want to say everybody goes on Google, and that's true, but AI is becoming the next Google for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So you really do need to be well liked in a lot of different areas, because the AI pulls the data from more than just Google, right? Because it tells you, hey, here's a situation with this business, and here are the sources that we use to determine that. So do you have a particular strategy? I've got a good Google strategy. Do you have particular strategies that you like to implement on reviews?
I always say you need to make it easy, right? That was our secret. You don't just want to ask them for a review, because oftentimes they'll say they're going to do it, and then for one reason or another, life gets busy and it doesn't happen. So you want to get a verbal commitment from them by asking them and have them say yes. But then you want to follow up with an email or a text message, and you want to link them not just to the site where they write the review, but this page where they're starting to write the review about your store, so that you make it as easy for them as possible. And by doing so, you're going to increase the likelihood that they're going to complete that task.
I look at a lot of stores, and the number that for most stores is 1%. You know what the 1% represents?
Probably the people who are pissed.
No, the people that actually give them reviews.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Now, every once in a while I get surprised. I was at a store in December, and they were at 4%. I was like, yeah. But even at 4%, that's a 96% failure rate in my book.
True. I agree with you.
Right? It's like, we shouldn't justify poor behavior. We should work on good behavior. So the way I look at it, if you're doing 1,000 ROs, 1,000 customer pay ROs or customer facing ROs, that's 1,000 opportunities. If you're selling 200 cars a month between new and used, that's 200 opportunities. So you have 1,200 opportunities on a store of that volume to get reviews, right? To your point, ask them. I take it one step further, right? I like to look at your Google, your traffic. Look at the metrics and see, what are people searching for, your customers? What are they searching for before coming into your store and spending money with you in the sales department and in the service department? Okay. Because odds are good, people that don't know you that come into the area, they're going to be searching for the same thing. So since Google is out to make money, they don't really care about you or I. They just want to answer the question quickly and as best as possible. So if I know widget near me is, or best widget near me is the term, then when you ask them, would you do, I hope I've done a nice job for you. But before I even ask them that, I say, hey, was this not the best widget purchase near you, like ever? Matt, was this not the best widget purchase near you?
Very smart.
Right? Hey, do me a favor. Take out your phone. I want you to open the camera app. I want you to point at this thing right here. Hey, shove a QR code. Okay, just make sure they're not on your Wi-Fi. Now when they go there and they click on it and they go to your Google My Business page, now it's instantaneous because the email, how many people have hundreds of emails that they haven't read in their email inbox? And how many people don't even know to check spam or want to check spam? But if I'm standing right here, mano a mano, was this not the best widget purchase near you? Yeah. Take out your phone. They're taking out their phone. They do it. And when they touch it, now they're at the place where they need to leave a review. And to your point of make it easy for them, I hope I've done a nice job. Would you help me with a 5-star Google review? And don't overthink it, Matt. You just agreed it was the best widget purchase near you. Why don't you just share that, put my name next to it? That's it.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So now you capture that review. It's SEO rich because the other people that haven't even decided they want to buy your widget yet are going to be searching for that. And if Google sees that you dominate, man, best widget, you got to go see Matt. Matt's the best widget seller out there.
Oh, absolutely. And if you can get your name to be mentioned in numerous reviews on a popular website, that's going to be a great source of referral business.
Yeah. And then take it one step further. I see a lot of people, they share those reviews, but they're not really sharing those reviews. What they're doing is they're creating an in-house review. They're graphic. I don't know. I'm a little suspect of everything.
Absolutely.
So if you could share the actual review, I think that would go a lot better. Nathan Williams says, it's like an F in school is not the end of the world. Likewise, a bad review isn't necessarily a reflection on your character, not is it the end of the world. Learning opportunities. Now, we talk a lot about data is the new currency, right? You've heard that once or twice today. So tell me about how do we get the most success out of our data?
Sure. I could talk about this for a long time. And before I do, I should also just point out that I did not mention previously, but not too long ago, I spent 3.5 years managing all of the digital, amongst other things, for Bozard Ford Lincoln in Florida. And so a lot of these practices are things that I did while at Bozard and some of the things that I learned while I was there. But it's all about leveraging data for growth, right? Because data can feel overwhelming at first, but when it's aligned with dealership goals, it does become your most powerful tool. For instance, lead tracking can reveal which campaigns are driving engagement and which need refinement. And by focusing on what's working, you can allocate budget more effectively and see a better return on investment. And similarly, analyzing pricing strategies with market data and competitors' insights can help you to adjust prices, as we talked about, to stay competitive while maximizing profitability. So together, these strategies can ensure your dealership operates both with precision and purpose. And then you want to always adapt as you go. As I said, at Bozard Ford and Lincoln, we saw how real-time performance metrics could transform a campaign. By analyzing which ads were converting, for example, and which weren't, we made mid-campaign adjustments that significantly boosted ROI. And the key there is just to stay flexible and to let the data guide your decisions. Examples of that would be prioritizing audience-first marketing and understanding that your audience is everything. When you know your customers' demographics and behaviors, you can create ads that resonate. An example would be targeting suburban families for SUVs or targeting eco-conscious millennials for EVs. And both would ensure your message reaches the right people at the right time, maximizing engagement and ROI. And then similarly, promoting family-friendly features like extra cargo space or maybe safety enhancements to parents or highlighting cutting-edge tech to attract tech-savvy buyers. This ensures your campaigns are both relevant and then also impactful. And data allows you to eliminate the guesswork because knowing your audience means you can stop guessing and you can start making smarter moves. For example, if data shows that most SUV buyers in your area are families, you can focus your ad budget on places where families spend their time, like family-friendly websites or local community events. Or maybe luxury car buyers in your market tend to have higher incomes, so you can target premium platforms to catch their attention, or even sponsor events or advertise at local businesses or at sports leagues for families to make your message connect with the right audiences. It's really all about reaching the right people, saving money, and getting better results. You can turn data into personalized experiences because ads work best when they feel like they're made just for that customer. For example, using data like a customer's browsing history, you can show them ads for the exact vehicles that they were looking at or even similar promotions that they might like. It makes your dealership feel more customer focused. And at the same time, it helps to build trust, which means that the customer is then going to be more likely to buy. And you can take it a step further with personalized finance options, like showing them lease deals or payment plans that match their budget. Little touches like this can show customers that you understand them and make it easier for them to choose you. But also you want to keep in mind that when you advertise is equally as important to what you advertise, because timing is everything in advertising. You can schedule your ads to run prominently for searches for best truck deals. I'm sorry. Let's say somebody's searching for best truck deals and you find that those searches peak on weekends. You could then schedule your ads to run prominently during those times. Or you could get creative with weather-triggered ads promoting all-wheel drive vehicles or weatherproof features when storms or snow are in the forecast. It's really all about being in the right place at the right time. Behavioral insights allow you to predict customer needs before they even ask. Again, so for example, if data shows that customers are visiting service-related pages on your website before they decide to trade in a vehicle, then maybe what you want to do is you want to run ads promoting trade-in specials to service customers, or throw something up on your service page that says that you'll pay more for well-serviced vehicles serviced at your dealership. I think ultimately the takeaway here is that when guided by customer demographics and behaviors, advertising becomes an investment and not an expense.
Right.
And then by targeting to the right audience with the right message at the right time, dealerships are able to build trust, which drives sales, and it also fosters long-term loyalty. And really that, I think, is what it's all about.
You know, in the past, the dealerships, they would have their plan and they'd work that plan, but it often wasn't until the 11th hour that they would now start to scramble because they weren't hitting certain metrics. Okay, that was hardly what I would refer to as in real time. They'd pass on a deal middle of the month. Nah, we don't need that deal. We don't need that deal. Only when there's a few days left to the end of the month. Hey, you know what? Get Mrs. Jones on the phone. Tell her we found $500 more on her trade. Well, guess what? Mrs. Jones was driving a new car the day after you blew her out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
How often does that happen, right?
It happens a lot, right? Hopefully less now, but the way lead responses are, I'm not surprised if it stayed the same, right? So now talk about, so the data now, the data's always been important, but we've never had a time like we have right now where we're able to access that data in real time. And we're able to take action and we're able to harvest specific customers based on that happening in real time. So I'll give you a couple of examples, all right? With AI, we have wonderful programs where we can look at our database, we can analyze our customers, we could scrape data from social because everybody shares everything on social. If it wasn't for business, I probably wouldn't be on social. But in the food space, in the yarn space, in the automotive space, we do business, right? So I put stuff out there. I do a lot of food content. So my average Facebook friend gains 20 pounds on average. Okay, and you can ask Massimo Castelli at Matthews Auto Group, and he'll vouch for that. So I give everybody this disclaimer. But the point is, the people in my food group have turned into our yarn store customers because I put stuff out there and they buy stuff, right? So to circle back to automotive, and really any business that utilizes AI and looks at data, you could scrape the data from, hey, there was a new birth in the family. Okay, now your AI knows that this person's driving a Sentra, a two-door Sentra, and they just had a baby. I don't think that two-door Sentra is going to cut it anymore. Yep. So the AI can then, based on other events that it scrapes off of public domains, it can find out what would best suit that customer and then serve up relevant ads to that customer that customer would see value in. That's something we didn't have decades ago, but we have that now, right? Another area, you talk about the affluent buyer, right? I have a friend who's in the hardscape and landscaping business. So I asked him, I said, hey, Frank, are you on LinkedIn? He says, no, that's not really an appropriate venue for me. Gee, how come, Frank? Well, it's just not. I said, well, I don't know too much about your business, but I imagine that the people that spend money on hardscapes, it's probably not in a ranch. It's probably a substantial size house. And I've seen walls cost $100,000. I would imagine a hardscape with pool and fountains and all this other crap that people want to put in there on their property, that's got to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And those are typically executives, right, that own those homes. And I'm thinking that LinkedIn, you're saying it's not a venue for you. However, your ideal customer is on LinkedIn. And to take it one step further, okay, another friend of mine, he and his brother have a construction business. And they put out some of the most amazing construction projects on LinkedIn. Amazing stuff, like, wow. Well, guess what? There's a company out of Boston that saw some of their work and hired them because they showcased their work on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you raise a great point. It makes so much sense to tailor your ads to the customer's habits because different customers prefer different platforms, right? I mean, you think about younger buyers, they're drawn to Instagram ads with trendy visuals or TikTok videos. And then you've got older research-focused customers that might respond better to Google search ads, and understanding where your audience spends their time is what's going to help you to meet them where they are.
Yeah. And while we're on TikTok, that's an interesting place also, right? There seems to be kind of an unknown as to where that's going, right? Are they trying to hold the company hostage for a hostile takeover? Who really knows why, right? But a lot of stores are of the belief that, hey, let's just get some young person in there and we'll crank out a bunch of really funny TikTok videos and it'll get millions of views. Well, that's true. It'll get millions of views. But if you do some research, what you learn is that can't be your only strategy, because while that platform favors views, it focuses on their ability to say, oh yeah, you create stuff, you'll get millions of views. But if you dig deeper, you'll find the data reveals that there's not a lot of conversion in those videos.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people that have 50 or 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, but yet 30 people will engage with their content, right?
Yeah.
What's the point? So from a marketing strategy, yes, the TikTok videos are funny, they're cool, you get some hipster on there and create some content, great. But that should be a part of, not your entire strategy. And that seems to be a lot of stores' entire strategy. So a part of, because what converts more is, I think you said it before, recommendations,
Absolutely.
right? A recommendation from a friend goes a lot further than 5,000 TikTok views.
Even a recommendation from a non-friend who wrote a review online goes a lot further.
Yeah. And the strategy that we shared, Google doesn't know that that's what you're doing, nor do they care, right? So use the information to the best, of your ability. Now, culture matters, right? And it's funny, you worked with Bozard Ford Lincoln, and while everybody talks about culture, not everybody's willing to do it. So talk to me a little bit about culture.
Well, first and foremost, I will say that of all the stores I've visited in all my years in this industry, which has been about 20, they have a better culture than anyone else I've ever seen. Those guys really get it. But culture matters because it really is what drives dealership success. When you think about it, empowered teams are what create memorable experiences, right? A dealership's culture is reflected in every customer transaction or interaction. And happy employees are what leads to happy customers, and it's as simple as that. When your team feels valued and supported, for example, they naturally deliver better service, creating positive experiences that customers won't forget. So what I always recommend is building a we environment. I believe strongly that teamwork is the foundation of success. And when you create a we environment where accountability and collaboration thrive, everyone's aligned towards the shared goals, you foster innovation and you build a team that works together to exceed customer expectations. It's also really important to acknowledge effort in order to inspire excellence. Because when you recognize and reward achievements, that's really a game changer. So I recommend visible scorecards, team contests, and celebrating wins, whether they are big or small, to motivate employees to perform at their best. Because when people see their efforts are being acknowledged, it inspires them to go the extra mile for the team and for customers. And then investing in people, it helps you to retain employees, because a positive workplace culture doesn't just boost morale, it also reduces turnover. And happy employees are more likely to stay, which saves you the cost of hiring and training, but also maintains consistency for your customers. So culture is an investment in both your team and your bottom line.
I went to Bozard Ford, Ed Roberts, he's the COO, and I went for his book signing. He's my friend. We support he has a book signing, I go, right? So I met everybody that works at the dealership. But before I met everybody, Ed pointed to each person, hey, that's Carlos over there. It tells me Carlos' story. And then he calls Carlos over. Hey, Carlos, come on over. I'm going to meet my friend Paul. And it was as though the guy hit the replay on the tape. Ed knew everything about every employee that I met. And I'm pretty sure I met every employee that works there, including the people that work in the child care center. Okay? He cares about the people. Culture and cares share the same first letter. Funny how that happens, right? You can't have customer retention without employee retention, and that comes from culture. Everybody talks about it. Very few people actually do something about it. I challenge you, when you go into your stores tomorrow, look at everybody that's in your store in every department, and do you know their story? Do you know what moves them? Do you know what their why is? Because if you don't, you need to. You don't have to, but the more you know, the better you'll do. Because when a customer walks into your store, they could pick up the vibe within 2 nanoseconds of what your place is about, right? So that's really critical. And the other thing is there seems to be a lot of sameness, whether it's vendors promoting themselves or it's dealerships promoting their business, right? On the dealer side, I see a lot of the same types of commercials and things like that. What are some of your feelings on standing out from all your competition?
It's a great question. So, especially where I was in this crowded market, you want to really try to stand out with thoughtful touches, because memorable experiences are really what set you apart, right? I mean, it's about creating an emotional connection with the customer. And you can do that by doing things like surprising them with a personalized note at their first service appointment, or thanking them for their trust and highlighting your appreciation in that note. You can also do small but meaningful gestures like follow-up emails with tips for maximizing their new vehicle's features. And those sorts of things leave lasting impressions and turn customers into loyal advocates because you're going above and beyond. And then you can also leverage technology, because let's face it, nowadays technology is really a game changer for standing out. Dealerships can leverage advanced tools, for example, to craft personalized mobile-first experiences that resonate with today's buyers, whether it be interactive digital quotes for seamless communication, or any number of other tools. These innovations that are available today demonstrate that you're not just meeting expectations, you're setting the standard for modern engagement. And also, I should point out that trust and value are really what drives decisions. Customers don't always choose the lowest price. They choose value and trust. Small gestures like, again, sending a personalized video or a handwritten thank you note, those build loyalty and they set you apart, because when you focus on building relationships instead of just transactions, that's how you create customers for life.
Couldn't have said it any better. A lot of dealerships, they put the same content out. I know OEMs require the dealership to put a certain amount of salesy type stuff, commercials, if you will. But let's face it, people don't watch commercials. When commercials come on, they do anything but. All right. So definitely. Yes, you need to maintain compliance and you need to share some of those specials and things like that. Talk about sameness, right? A strategy tends to be what I refer to as the hostage photo. Are you familiar with the hostage photo?
No.
You're familiar with it, just not what I call it, right? It's the picture of the salesperson and the customer with the key.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's the same picture, but with different people. This AI here is moving me around on the screen. So I call it the hostage photo because it's almost like a forced photo.
Totally.
It's Billy and Fred with their new car. It's Sandy and Elmo with his new car. It's the same picture. So they do the OEM commercials, which nobody looks at, and they do the hostage photos, which, let's face it, after you've seen hostage number 3,759, I promise you're not going to be looking at it anymore. But guess what? If you're on social media and your friend is in a 30 to 60 second video, how likely would you be to watch that?
Far more likely.
Right? So you don't put all your eggs in one basket, but you want to make sure that you're touching all the bases. Yes, you need some hostage photos. Yes, you need the specials. And yes, you need all this stuff you're required to do. But a personal referral has more value than all of it, in my opinion, because if I bring my friend Sally to your dealership and I tell her, Matt's a good guy. I buy my cars from Matt, or I service with Matt. I highly recommend him. That customer, Sally, she's going to go to Matt as a trusted referral. And Matt's going to be straight up with her. He's going to educate her on what her car needs if he's working in service, what needs now, what's still good, what's questionable and give her Sally the option as to whether or not she wants to do it. And guess what? Sally is going to believe what Matt tells her because I recommended Matt because Matt was honest, and that's how Matt does business. Mm-hmm. That goes a lot further than dealers spend $20,000 to $30,000 a month, many of them more than that, to bring in new customers with some generic little ad in the corner of the screen that may or may not be relevant, that if the customer clicks on it, they may have something, right? Today in marketing, what is it? 1.5% to 3% is considered an effective campaign. Is that number still true or no?
What are you getting at in terms of lead generation?
Yeah, as far as actually somebody coming in and buying something.
Oh, I'm not 100% sure, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't want to.
Okay, that's fair. But the numbers I've seen is anywhere 1.5 is like standard or okay. If you're doing 3.5, you're doing really well, right? To me, that's a 90-some-odd% failure rate.
It really is.
Right? So standing out in a crowded market, you got to mix up the content. Yes, you could do the funny TikTok videos, but you also need to do the customer testimonials and all the other things. And to your point about sending them information later that would either help them to better utilize some of the features in the car. My friend Christine, who's the Car Lady Canada, she does get to know your car nights at dealerships, which most don't do. But just think about it. You have customers that have spent millions of dollars to buy products from you, and you bring them back in, and you have somebody like Christine or somebody in-house, depending on how you guys want to structure it, to go over things with them. You know, why they do certain servicing, why it's important, okay? Maybe other things. Maybe you could have people come in, help them adjust the clock when the times change, okay? Look, if I have a car 20 years, every 6 months, I'm looking up a YouTube video on how to change that. But if you as a store were to bring people in to get to know your car night and talk to them about the importance of service, what's done and why, how to maximize the longevity of your vehicle. You know, if you Google how long is the average car on the road today, you'll find that it's over 12 years.
Right.
Not saying every customer keeps it that long, but the car itself keeps rolling for 12 years. If you bring customers in and you educate them to what they can do to maximize the longevity of their car to cut their overall spend, I think you'll have more people come to you for service, right? And that's a stand-up.
And you don't necessarily even have to bring them in for that. You could, and it's not a bad idea, but you can create videos and send videos too that introduce them to these new technologies and that explain to them a lot of the things that you just talked about. And even that is going to be a step above what others are doing and cause you to stand out for providing them with a higher level of service.
And that gets us into follow-up. Follow-up. What is that? You mean you mean if somebody comes into my store, I actually have to call them back? They're not going to buy right on the spot and take it or leave it because I've got 5 other buyers? Follow-up. Talk to me about this follow-up thing.
You know, the thing I always like to bring up is that it's really about quality over quantity. And I think a lot of dealers get that wrong because when it comes to follow-up, less is often more. When you think about it, a few well-executed, thoughtful touch points can really outperform dozens of generic emails, for example. And it's not about how often you reach out. It's really about how meaningful each interaction feels to that customer. Nowadays, you can even let automation do a lot of the heavy lifting because there are tools out there that will do a lot of the follow-up for you, enabling your dealership to send, for example, personalized, timely messages without adding to the team's workload. You can automate lead response, birthday greetings, service reminders, whatever really, to make customers feel valued and to save your team hours of work. But when it comes to that, consistency is really key because consistency is what builds trust. And by maintaining detailed CRM notes, which I think is critical, every team member is on the same page, ensuring that there's a seamless transition between interactions when the customer goes to work with one team member to the next. So I always made sure that my team was taking copious notes in the CRM after every customer interaction, and I was a real stickler about it, because doing that, and it eliminates frustration for customers, and it really reinforces your dealership as being dependable and professional. And then the last thing I guess I'd mention about that is that you want to reduce friction. Again, when I was with Acton Toyota, we streamlined the customer journey by streamlining our lead response process. And by equipping the team with transparent pricing tools, we reduced, again, that back and forth email and phone call communication and made it easier for customers to get the answers that they needed. And simply by simplifying the process, it didn't just provide a more efficient experience, it made the experience smoother and more satisfying for customers as well. When you do that, that's how you win customers for life.
It's not rocket science. Every dealership struggles with follow-up, whether it's follow-up on a lead that comes in, whether it's follow-up on a phone call that comes in, whether it's follow-up after they bring the car in for service, or whether it's follow-up when they purchase the car. And it's really very simple, right? It's so simple. Kenneth Dunner Jr., my friend from Sugar Land, Texas, says, savor the flavor of the awesomeness in you, Paul Meyer, for sharing your beautifully well-articulated, eloquent, stated, heartfelt thoughts of wisdom, kindness, goodness, patience, encouragement, empathy, understanding, sincerity, perseverance, knowledge, honesty, love, hope, courage, tenacity, awesomeness, caring, positivity, compassion, passion, inspiration, resilience, respect, appreciation, gratitude, enthusiasm, guidance, motivation, support, my friend.
I second that, Paul.
This guy's great. He's an awesome guy. But the follow-up, you're right. There are all the tools to do it, to automate the process. You can sprinkle in a few handwritten notes.
Yep.
You can sprinkle in a few of your own phone calls to a well-crafted follow-up cadence. I had a customer when I worked at Lexus years ago. I called this lady with a regular follow-up cadence. Not once did I get her on the phone. She leased the car. I think it was either 3 or 4 years. I forget the exact term. Never once did I get a phone call back from her or did she answer the phone. But guess what? At the end of her lease, she walked in, sat down at my desk, and I said, wow, I thought something happened to you. I've been talking to your answering machine for the last, bless you, the whole term here. She says, you know what? I really appreciate your follow-up. There was never any issues, so there was really no need to call back. But because you followed up the way you did is why I'm here. I want to get another one. What do you have? Right? We have so much more tooling today to do it so much better. The stuff that I did then, really dinosaur stuff, right? The CRM then, my CRM was a recipe card box. Okay, or a file folder with the pinks, because then we had the white copy, the yellow copy, and the pink copy. The white copy is the customer, the yellow copy was for the folder, and the pink was my copy. So I put them in the folder, and I would rotate that regularly. So as the next month passed, put it at the end, move it to the front. So that's how that was our follow-up cadence. And God forbid somebody should go in there and mess with you and move stuff around. Then you're screwed. But we have all that stuff now. And you're right, the CRM is critical. And it's not just car dealers. Successful restaurants use it too. I'm a big fan of Davio's Northern Italian Steakhouses. Okay, Steve owns probably 12 of them at this point. I've been to 8 of them around the country. And here's how well their CRM works. The first time they had one, either Philly or King of Prussia, I pull up to the valet sees my plate number, greets me by name, welcomes me. First time I was there. He says, hey, welcome. We've been expecting you. As a matter of fact, our general manager and the hostess are at the hostess station awaiting your arrival. The valet takes my car, checks me in. Another valet walks me up to the counter or the desk there. They welcome me and they seat me, right? the restaurant has all of my preferences in their CRM so that regardless of which one of Steve's restaurants I go to, they all know what I like, what I expect, and what they should do to make me happy. And guess what? It's one of my favorite restaurant groups.
Makes all the sense in the world. And more dealers should enforce it. I think that they make certain that their salespeople take copious notes after every customer interaction.
And now we even have the technology where we could recite it, and it gets put in there. So it's important to realize car shoppers judge your dealership at every single interaction, whether it's a phone call, a text, an email, an ad, anywhere and everywhere. So you need to deliver a consistent messaging across all these different platforms. Matt, thank you so much for coming on, man.
Oh, I'm happy to have come on. I really appreciate the invitation, and I'm honored that you have me.
The hour goes so fast. We're 2 minutes over. Any final words before we sign off?
Let me think about that. I guess I would say that if there's one thing that I've learned throughout my journey in automotive, it's really that success rarely follows a straight path, and that adaptability is key. Being open to change and learning from failure, that's what's helped me grow personally and professionally. And collaboration has also been critical. There's no success story, in my opinion, that happens in isolation. It's really the result of working with great teams and supporting one another to reach shared goals. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to connection, both with your team and also with your customers. Because when you create an environment where your team feels valued, that positivity flows directly to your customers. And when customers feel understood and cared for, they keep coming back. So you focus on those genuine connections and everything else will follow.
Well said. When I get back from my travels, I'd love to maybe get a demo on Quotable, maybe towards the end of the month if you have time.
Be happy to give you or anyone else who's interested a demo. They typically last about 15 minutes. Feel free to reach out to me directly through LinkedIn about that, or for any other reason to ask questions that you may have. I'm happy to provide any assistance like that.
Best number to reach you, Matt, would be what?
Area code 978-989-8509.
And if somebody wants to send you an email?
Matt, M-A-T-T, at Quotable, Quotible.com.
Excellent. If you could put a link maybe to the website in the chat, that would be great.
You got it. Be happy to do that right now.
All right. Thanks a lot. To those that watch it live, thank you for your support. We just are entering into our 6th year of the show. And to those watch it on the replay, thank you. If you see value in what we discussed here tonight, or you have a friend that might benefit from the information, by all means, feel free to share it with them. And with that, I wish you a safe and successful next week. And we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. Don't go away, Matt.